Hey, and welcome to iHeart Intellectual Radio, Black Conservative Radio. I am your host, Alan J. Campbell, aka the Batman, here at the top of the hour. Hey, I'm gonna get into a real deep topic. This is something that a link that I got sent, and I had to listen to it, and I'm going to chime in on that. But first, I want to get into is this situation of the violence over the weekend. Okay, now let's look at this for a moment. Okay, we had 30 people shot, 7 killed. Okay, and yesterday was for most people, you say Happy Easter. I don't say Easter because understand something. Easter Bunny has absolutely, positively nothing to do with Jesus Christ, with my Lord Jesus Christ. Nothing to do with that. I heard the funniest thing when it came to that. I kid you not. I can't make this up. I'm not that clever. A young lady told her children, or they asked her, how did the Easter Bunny come about? And the mother told the children, I shit you not, she told them that when Jesus rose and the stone rolled back and it fell over, it scared the rabbit and it laid eggs. I look, don't shoot the messenger. I'm telling you, that is a story that was told to me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. See, this is the problem of having poor of disinformation, and then we filter it down to our children to believe this crap. I mean, help me understand something. Rabbits don't lay eggs, so but I don't even call it Easter. And then when you start to putting it together, it's basically a pagan. They brought paganism into it. Okay, but I choose to call it Resurrection Day, because here's my thing. And yes, we're good. Yeah, and when this is the part about conservative, and we're gonna get into some spiritual things on the show tonight. Yeah, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. Let me put it that way. If you don't like it, too bad. Because I'm not saying it for you to like, I'm saying it I'm saying it so you can be informed and not continue to walk around being stupidly misled. But back to this one article this week. Now, this once again goes into the raising of our children. Okay, last week there was a 13-year-old boy fatally shot. And I kid you not, 13-year-old boy fatally shot by CPD, Chicago Police. Okay, now here's the story. The 13-year-old boy was out with another male, 21 to 24, at 1:30 in the morning. Okay, 1:30. What is a 13-year-old doing out at 1:30 in the morning? Oh, wait. Okay. In fact, I'm going to read you the article, and I want you to, and then you draw your own conclusion. Okay. The young man's name was, the 13-year-old boy's name was Adam Toledo. Okay, kid you not, I can't make that up. That is his name, Adam Toledo. Okay. As the article goes on, it says a deadly encounter between one of our officers and a juvenile amid the recent spike. The fear became a reality March 29, 2021, with the death of 13-year-old Adam Toledo. At around 2:30, correction, at around 2:30 last Monday, 2:30 in the morning, Chicago police responded to shot spotter alerts of 8 shots fired when they came upon Toledo and a 21-year-old man in the 2400 block of Sawyer in the Little Village. A foot pursuit ensued, and during that time, an armed confrontation ensued, and the officer shot Toledo in the chest. Now, the story is that the 13-year-old boy, this is the story, according to reports, is that the 13-year-old boy turned and fired began an attempt to discharge his weapon. Officers returned fire, striking and killing the 13-year-old boy. Now, here's the thing. Now, see, you got to read deeper into this into the story. The mother Okay, not only that, but the 13-year-old boy, the 13 Toledo, at 13 years old, was in the gang book. He's in the gang book at 13. The mother admittedly said that she had been having trouble with keeping him in the house, that he would leave the home without knowledge and would disappear. She admitted that this was problematic, to the point where she put him into what they call um uh there's a section where when you have a troubled youth and they continue to run away, she listed him as an at risk youth. That's it. That's the thing. Listed as an at risk youth. Okay, because he kept disappearing. Now, the second suspect, 21-year-old Reuben Roman, was charged with the incident and a misdemeanor and for resisting arrest. Now, be prepared for those charges to either be upgraded, because the two were together and the 13-year-old Toledo boy was killed during the commission of a felony, which both of the individuals were party to. See, that's how that works. They can actually charge the 21-year-old with that 13-year-old's death. Here's the thing, and this is the thing where we as parents, once again, and this is why when I go to into the other part of the show, where this is kind of the segue. When you are and I don't want to hear this I don't want to hear this nonsense about, as parents we got to work, we can't, we got to do this, we got to do that. That's an excuse. That's just your reason for not being more active with your child, supervising your child, knowing where your child is. I mean, at 13 years old, I can tell you where I was at 13. I was in the house 9 times out of in bed, or I'm sitting in front of the tube watching a baseball game, because there was nothing out there, and there was nothing that could draw me to these streets. Absolutely nothing that could draw me. But for whatever reason, and what happens is that these children are drawn to the streets, there is a lot that is going on inside the home that draws them out there. A lot is going on. And if you don't believe me, look at the system now. Look at the statistic now of all these children, all these young individuals, young people that are in the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center. There's a breakdown. And the breakdown comes from the lack of the parenting, or lack thereof, because a lot of these individuals are spending too much time chasing some nigga, doing drugs, doing themselves, and not minding the store. The store is these individuals that you bring into this world. And then you leave these children, and I say children, you leave these children to their own device and raising themselves. And then when something happens, the first thing you want to do is blame. The first thing you want to do is blame the system. That's the first thing you want to do. The first thing you want to do is blame everybody but yourself. Now, I'm not going to sit here, I'm gonna be honest, okay? I'm gonna be totally honest, okay? You know what? I don't put, and I have children myself, and I don't put them on a pedestal. If they're wrong, they're wrong, and they know I will tell. They know I will get in that ass. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And they know, and this is what, and they know this, and this is only because they know me. They understand what my expectations are. They know and understand what I won't tolerate. They know this. They absolutely know this. They know, as they say, Papa don't take no mess. And that's absolutely right. We have to stop using everything in the world as an excuse on why we are not honing in on the conduct of our children. When these children become adults, when they become 23, 25, 27, 30, 33, 30, it's and you're trying to teach them the way of life. It's too late. That ship has sailed, long sailed. And this works on both sides, to where the father and the mother, 9 times out of 10, the mother has the children and the father, that whatever the issue is, that ship has long sailed. You can't sit there. A mother can't sit there and have a conversation with her 29-year-old son, talking, saying that, you know what, stop having these babies. You need to have a condom. That's a conversation that you should have had when he was 14, when he was 16. You can't have these conversations with your daughters talking, look, keep your legs closed. You can't keep bringing babies into the world if you have no way of taking care of them. You can't have these conversations. Now, some of this too is being a double-edged sword, is choice. You can give your child the best teaching, but it still boils down to a choice. It still boils down to that. It boils down to them making a conscious decision on what they want to do. Now, this 13-year-old boy made a conscious decision to run the streets, be where he wants to be, and subsequently, he ran across the expiration date at 13. Now, the other thing too, and this is the part to where the media is, and the media, once again, it's a double-edged sword, because even when I do my show, this is part of a media platform, so I can't completely crucify them. But at the same time, if you're going to do comprehensive journalism, do it the right way. I don't want to see what you want to do is try the case in the public opinion, because if you look at the picture of this 13-year-old boy, he looks like, I'm just being truthful. If you look at him, he looks like a special needs children. Like he has something going on mentally. I'm not going to use I'm not going to use the typical word, because we want to try and be politically correct. I'm not going to say that the picture, he looks like a retarded individual, but but that's the way that the media has put the picture out there, or the picture that was given. Now, the other picture, you see this hardened 13-year-old. You can see that, oh my gosh, this is the picture that they should have put up, instead of the one that looks like he's 10 years old. This is one of the problems. But at the same time, now the mother, now we have to understand, this is a Hispanic kid. At the same time, we have the mother that's out there boohooing, crying, I want justice for my son. Okay. Help me understand that. You want justice for your son? He's outside at 2:30 in the morning. At where are you at that you don't know where your child is at 2:30 in the morning? Where I mean, really. Now, Earl, that if you was out past 11 o'clock, if the street lights were on and you wasn't on the porch, you knew that there was going to be lightning, there was going to be hell to the cross. You knew he was going to pay, right? Oh, no. That's not what I'm saying. No. I'm not saying. I'm talking here and now. I'm saying, as parents, I'm not saying we're not, what happened is a tragic thing, but we have to look at it for the reality that he's 13 years old, out at 2:30 in the morning. Where is the parent? How do you not hear your door or this child going out the door? And not only that, but he's creeping out with a 21-year-old. He's leaving the house with somebody that's 21 years old, and they're out there into some devilment. Out there. There's an old saying, my grandmother used to say this all the time, and she, and she was right. She was absolutely right. She says that nothing good happens after 11 o'clock. Nothing good happens after 11 o'clock. And she was absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I don't know if you all see it, but I brought my Bible because there's some stuff I want to try. I can try to pull out of here too. But also, scripturally, the fifth commandment says, honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. So he disobeyed. Disobedience has a price. Disobedience has a price. Disobedient children. It has, listen, if children are listening, if you within an earshot, or if your children with an earshot, they need to hear this portion about if you are having difficulties or their conduct is unbecoming. They need to understand. And the fifth commandment, that's the only commandment in the Bible that comes with a promise, meaning that if you don't do these things, if you are disobedient or you're disappointed, or you're doing everything that disappoints your parents, you're not going to be here much. You're not going to be here long. You're not. You're not going to be here. That's why it's imperative that we are, and also that way we are ultimately responsible for the lives and the souls of our children, because they are given to us and we are put in their charge, and they are put in our charge. This is a yes, when I'm not taking anything from him, but I just have to keep it real. Had he been in the house, not out there in these streets doing whatever it was that he thought he was doing or could do or whatever, he'd be alive today. He would be alive today. Make no mistake about that. He'd be alive. And there's a many child that disobeyed their parent. Disobey. And not only that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a teenager, but there are other things as you go through life as a child while your parents are still alive. If you don't listen, there are things, there's costs. It costs. And it will continue to cost you. Will continue, But that's just the most unfortunate thing. And and at the same time, and I have to applaud the mayor for saying what she think is politically right, that she wants to, she's determined to find out who put the gun in his hand. Okay, you know what? Okay, mayor, you're saying what needs to be said. You're saying what is politically correct. But at the end of the day, this is still a conscious decision. This was a choice that this young man made, and who he was with helped channel that. At 20, whatever, you're 21 years old and you're hanging out with a 13-year-old. The smart thing, or if we lived in a perfect world, this would have been, you know what, go home, or you know what, why are you out? Living in a perfect world, but we don't live in a perfect world. We live in a world that has consequences, and severe consequences, if we're not careful. If we are not careful. So my next thing is that I got a clip, and I should say a clip was sent to me, and it was referencing, and I'm gonna tell you, and it was referencing marriage, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, I wanted to hear that, and it was referencing, and this woman, I kid you not, this one. So the guy, it was, and basically he was doing a podcast similar to like what I'm doing. And he had this young lady come on, and she went through a laundry list of things that she wanted, keywords, and her word, and she used the term and I had to, I had to kind of earmark that. And she used the term I, the term I 17 times in the conversation. Nothing about we or us or together. I didn't hear that. And the brother was he asked, the question was, um what do you want in a man? And she went on to say that this is what she wanted, this kind of man. She, he most of the top of the top of her list was he needs to be a good provider. He needs to cherish me, love me. Just a couple of laundry list things, and I'm just sitting there listening. I'm like, oh, okay. So we're going down we're headed down the Walt Disney Snow White fairy tale land. She's not being realistic. Now, and I say that because she kept saying what she wanted, what she wanted. So he asked her, well, okay, with that being said, okay, so you're talking about you looking for Mr. Perfect, and her response was, well, pretty much, yeah. And he's just like, okay, you're not being realistic. You are not being realistic because there's no perfect person out there. There isn't. There's two things, and when he and she said that he needed to not only be the provider, that he's the one that needs to get up and go to work and handle all the bills and do all of this and do all of that. And so the host asked her and said, well, what is your job? What are you supposed to do? She says, nothing. He's supposed to take care of me. He's like, that's not how this works. That's not how that works. If you're talking about a marriage, and I've even said this numerous times on my show. First of all, a marriage is a partnership. Good, bad, ugly. Marriage is a partnership. Marriage is a level of compromise. Marriage is it's a job. It's several different things. If we go, you go to your Bible and you look at and you take Adam and Eve. Here's the thing. Bottom line, Adam was a provider. Adam had to make sure everything was in line. Eve's job was not only to be the helper, but to take care of the home when Adam was out doing his thing. Then when the children came, same deal. When the boys were there, they would go out and work in the field. Eve's job, operative word, job, to take care of the home, to keep things running. The same thing when you move down the road to Abraham. Abraham was a wealthy man. Sarah's job was to take care of the home while he was out. See, we get kind of confused when we keep saying when we keep saying I want this, I want that. Now, if turning it around, and the same question was asked of me. So, okay, what do you seek in a wife? Okay, well, what do I seek in a wife? Well, I don't want a slave or a robot. I'm just spitting here. I don't want a slave or a robot. I don't want anybody that's complete, and I have to be real. I don't want anybody that's completely stupid to where you have to tell them everything from start to finish, to where they have no form of intellect on how to do anything except one thing. That doesn't help. If I'm a business-minded individual, okay, and granted, your partner may not be business minded, but it would be advantageous if they learn how to do that. We're not talking about, and this is typical, we're not talking about paying a light or gas bill or a cable bill or a car note or going and buying groceries. That's those are necessities. We're talking about if you and a person, you and person A, and you're talking about building something, you would, and like I said, this is only my opinion. You're looking for that. You're looking for someone to give you, to assist you, to help you build this. But I also have to take into consideration that is my ideal. That's my concept. And these are things that only matter to me, and not said person. The same thing with the woman. If she has business, if she's a business minded person, she has a certain intellect on how to handle things, how to do things, how to delegate. And this man comes along, and and the thing is that if this man wants to be part of her life, it would be to his advantage to learn how to do certain things, to understand what she's doing, how she's doing it. What do you need me to do? Or how do I, or maybe you could be that person who best suits them in certain areas. Look, here's the thing. I'm not very good. I am horrible in math when it comes to actually uh uh doing it on paper. I'm terrible. I'm absolutely terrible. I kid you not. But I could, but taking that same thing, I can do it in my head. But at the same time, if you're with somebody who is very quick on math, and they say, well, give me this and I can work these numbers for you to where I can help you do this, help because if we're talking about developing a partnership, that's the first one. You have to build the foundation, building the foundation. That's the first thing. But before we go any deeper, we're going to take us a little break here on Black Conservative Radio. Captain Hooked, my sponsor. Hey, if you are hungry, get your behind down to one of the 3 locations here in the Chicago and South and Southern Chicago, 85th and Cottage Grove, 103rd and King Drive, and 15922 South Markham, Illinois. Captain Hooked. Hey, we'll be right back here. Let's go. Black Intellectual Radio.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
These niggas think it ain't crazy out here. Now bounce. Y'all gotta pardon me tonight. I feel like a superhero up in here. When the spinner gotta hit him, gotta get him like new shit. They call me Batman, cause the black mask is on my face. Gun up on my waist, booted and suited in them black case. I'm looking for some hood rats that I take.
Hey, and welcome back to iHeart Intellectual Radio, Black Conservative Radio. I am your host, Alan J. Campbell, aka The Dark Knight, here at the bottom of the hour. We are talking about certain aspects of marriage, certain aspects, okay? And when we left off, we have to. I went on to say that there are there's certain things that we must do, and we must prepare ourselves. The first thing we have to ask ourselves, if we're really serious and talking about marriage, because see, and this is just me. One of the issues that I take up with this is that the way society has commercialized marriage, how for lack of a better word, how it's becoming defiled, and what we're trying to do. Hey, welcome to iHeart Intellectual Radio, Black Conservative Radio. Who do I have on the phone, and where you calling from?
This is Jay from Georgia.
All right. Let's go right into it. We know what you about to go with. We know it. That's all right. Kick it.
So I got a proposition. So I think the story or the headline tonight is dealing with marriage and the responsibilities of marriage. And such. Am I correct? I just want to make sure I'm on point.
No, you are correct because you are correct. The operative word, responsibilities that come with it. You just can't, hold your point, because people want to say, I want to get married, or I want to be married, or I want marriage. And then you have people that say, well, I want to be married. I need to be married because I want to be right in the eyes of God. But when you say that, you're doing it now. When you say I want to be right in the eyes of God, you're doing it for the wrong, and you're doing it for the wrong reason. Because if that's the only reason that you're doing it, what stopped you from way back when you were quote unquote pure? But go ahead.
So let's start there. So if we want to be justified in the eyes of God, we want to do things within the righteousness of which he provides and the righteousness of what he requires for us to be, how they say, sanctified.
Yes.
Okay. Because that is a process. Sanctification is a process of setting aside or preserving something for the specific use within a religious or a holy endeavor, okay? Which marriage is. Marriage is a spiritual ceremony amongst two souls that is being carried out by the act of two bodies.
Mm-hmm.
It's a spiritual ceremony that occurs bringing together two souls by the formation and the submission of two physical bodies.
Operative word. Go ahead.
But I think it's rather interesting that, we want to have these conversations well after for lack of better terms, the body has been defiled. Because originally, the requirement of marriage was that you were to be, first of all, set aside,
yes,
sanctified, and then engaged or promised, or as they say, espoused to another.
Right.
And then the third and most important principle of marriage was specifically for the purpose of uniting two families for some greater alliance, whether it was for
profitability,
the joining of businesses,
right,
the joining of property, or to prevent war.
Yes.
Marriage. So I think that unfortunately, and especially amongst, colored folk, we have gotten our understanding of the purpose of marriage so disillusioned from its actual office. Because technically, you cannot require the level of marriage or the level of commitment that your grandmother had if you aren't willing and you're not equipped, which is a very important part, if you're not equipped to do what she was able to do. I don't think you have that. You don't have that right to require that. You do not have the audacity, if you will, to require that he be the Prince Charming, but you have every ability to be, shall we say, the entertainer of the horde. But when you're ready to figure out that, now I need to justify or sanctify myself and become righteous through
a ceremony,
through the ceremony of marriage, but then he has to accept all of this other excessive baggage on your behalf with no level of recourse or no level of, hey, listen, this is not acceptable. I find it very hypocritical that a lot of women can have the audacity to say, I don't want to marry a man who has children outside of wedlock or underage children. But a man is expected, and he's in some instances deemed less than a man if he doesn't accept all of the, excuse my French, if he won't accept all of the bullshit you brought to his picnic table. I find it extremely hypocritical. These are the same people who say, yeah, you cool and all, but, you got these babies out here. But in the same time, you could have been Jenny on the block, still is. And a man is supposed to, without any hesitation, reservation, or objection, just accept everything that has happened and be completely unaffected by it. I'm gonna say it like this. I think I've said it on the show before. I think that especially in this generation, I think there should be a refresher course that these young ladies, and I say young ladies because anybody 50 and under at this point, I still consider a young lady because they have about the mental capacity of a 13-year-old. Should watch the movie Claudine.
Oh, yes.
Which is a movie that their grandmother may remember, or maybe their mama would remember, but probably their grandmother remembers.
Well, it was a movie at the time, and it was poignant at the time, and at this also it was at a time to where it really hammered home the psyche.
Well, it was hammering home, but it was trying to warn us. The problem with us as a culture is we are so ignorant that people can run through our streets ringing bells talking about fire, fire, and we'll turn louder. I don't know what he was talking about. It just sounded like some noise. Person's running down the street yelling fire, get out. And we'll just say, deal up. And unfortunately, we've gotten to a point to where no one needs to run and say fire. It's actually burning through our backyards.
Right. And see, with Claudine, and even she kind of she implicitly implied this is that she needed somebody to help her with her situation and her kids,
which came from all of her poor decisions.
All poor decisions. That's what it boiled down to.
This man, who already has his own struggles, which of course everybody does.
Right.
Now he's got to put all of that aside to help solve all of your poor decisions and your lack of accountability. And if he doesn't, he's every bit of less than a man. See, there's something wrong, and I've said this before, there's something wrong with the psyche of our people. And I would liken it to that of someone who's been in an abusive spouse relationship. Because the level of dysfunction that we call normalcy is insanity. Mm-hmm. And we continue to pass this down as a rite of passage.
Rite of passage.
That should be expected. And that has to change. Well, it better change. Because if it doesn't, guess what? I see this happening, and it's pretty much happening already. Black men will no longer desire the black woman for his mate. The black woman will no longer be attracted or will even be compatible with her own males.
Hold your point. I heard now this, I agree with, and I do see, I understand what you're saying. I heard now these are two young black men having a general conversation. So apparent, and as the conversation began, the conversation began to ramp up, and they begin to discuss their relationships. And then come to find out, both of these guys, one of the guys, these are two black guys. One is seeing a white woman, and the other one is one dating a white woman, and another one is dating a Latina or Hispanic. And as the conversation and as they begin to conversate, and the conversation, I'm not what they were conversating, and then it came out through the third party on that why they had selected two others, because their words were, and one agreed with the other, because I'm just tired of black women and black women's not bullshit. And I had to jump in. I said, well, wait a minute now. We can't loop and see, this is me being the philosopher. I say, look, we can't loop everybody into this. We can't. We all got some bad apples. We got some bad eggs. We got this, we got that. But I can understand their choices, because they had been down the road to whatever road this was, and they chose other, and they just said, I'm not gonna put up with it. The other one said that my sisters just carry out so bad, I don't even want to deal with them, so I don't even want to deal with black women, because some of the unnecessary baggage that they bring and the unrealistic expectations that they want from black men. Operative word, unrealistic expectations. We know.
Let's be clear. Who set that expectation? See, again, if you're going to have this conversation or this discussion, you got to understand, as I said, the psyche of the black race,
right?
Particularly its women, has been literally damaged to a point of almost no repair.
Right. Eviscerated is the word we want to use.
Because they function, and again, this is a poor generalization, but it's a fact nonetheless. They function at a level of a reprobate mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I would liken that to be that of maybe someone who is between 13 and 17 years old. Period. There's no general maturity into understanding the full weight of what is the responsibilities of a full adult relationship.
Now,
a full adult relationship.
Now, when we reference that about a full adult relationship, we have to take into consideration that if you've never been in an adult or adult relationship, a healthy relationship, or even a somewhat meaningful relationship, you're not getting any type of education. Now, that's just one aspect. But then if you are in one of the three and someone is trying to teach you that this is the way of doing things, this is the way we should be going about this, they're trying to show you a different way of life. And this goes to the part to where you say, when you're dealing with a reprobate mind, and reprobate operative aka void of training, this is where the problem comes in, because now you've been conditioned into a way to where you have accepted this is how it's supposed to go. And then when you want to turn,
let me make one correction. Reprobate does not mean that you've been removed from a condition. It actually means that you have refused to take on the instruction.
Right. Okay. Correct.
outright refusal to accept the instruction. But I understand your point. The other part of this is, and I'm going to be very brief, is we, as a culture, by and large, do not desire positive relationships. We don't. Let's be honest with ourselves. Bill Cosby spent over 30 years trying to put positive images in front of us. Positive images of paths to education, paths to a normal family life, paths to just having some ideas of careers and things that can help us get a better point of leverage and existence. We refused that, and to a point resented him for even drawing light to how dysfunctional we are.
Right.
See, so we don't, it's not that we haven't been exposed to things. It's not that we don't know any better. We have become comfortable in our pain and in our dysfunction and have accepted it as
and I'm glad,
which in a sense is a mental illness.
And I'm glad, you know what, and I'm glad you brought that up, because
the level of mental illness.
When you say
this is the proverbial dog that returns to its own vomit to eat.
Wow. And I'm glad you mentioned
it has poisoned many of our relationships, and in many cases, many of our generations.
Yeah.
And until we have an honest conversation that this is what's going on, this will never get fixed. So we got to start there.
Right. We have to look at the issue of fixing ourselves before we can try and fix others. We have, first of all, no, let me back up. Let me rephrase that. I retort. First of all, we have to identify that we have issues and problems that we need to work on. We need to do, that's the first thing. And then in order to so we can identify this as being what it is, we have to identify that. I'm not in the business of changing people. I don't do that. I don't have time for it. I don't have the energy. I just don't. But what I will do is give you is share with you the word and if you the word philosophy, and hear me carefully, people, and even look this up. The word philosophy means the love of wisdom. Philosophy means the love of wisdom. So when you run across somebody in your life, at your job, in the relationship, and this person is full of philosophy, this is a person that is full of wisdom and knowledge, and it would be advantageous for you to listen. They're not going to get it. They're not going to do everything right. They're not going to get it right. Understand something. Solomon, who we hear from in our Bible, was the wisest man that ever lived. But Solomon had his issues too. He had his problems also. But that did not mean that God did not smile down upon him. That did not mean that God did not stop blessing him. That did not mean that. When we run across someone who is full of wisdom and knowledge, it's in your best interest to listen to that person, because they might know a little something, and also know this. If you're one of those individuals that have a problem with somebody always that's giving you correction or philosophizing, understand something. That information, it's not self-generated. That comes from God himself to give to this man or this woman to pass on to those who are unlearned, And one of the things that sometimes and then when we're referencing marriage, the first thing they want to do is go to the Bible. But you got to understand something. First of all, you need to be learned. You have to learn your Bible. You have to learn your Bible. You have to learn this book in order to understand the things that you are trying to do and accomplish. If you have the desire of marriage, an operative word, you have the desire. Understand something. God puts people together at certain times. And sometimes we make decisions of being with people that we shouldn't be with because that was not part of the plan. That was not part of what he wanted. We made that choice and we have to deal with it. We have to deal with it. It's the choices that we make. But once you begin to get an understanding, I was listening to Joel Osteen. I'm not sure if a lot of you are familiar with that. I was listening to him a week ago, and he mentioned something that made a lot of sense. There are some people that come into our lives that we are not meant to be with. And they're not meant to be with us. This was not what it was. This was not for us, but we made the choice. Operative word, choice. There are just some people that are not meant to be together. That was not the part of the plan. That was not part of destiny of God's destined plan. It was not at all. And that's what it boils down to. But if when we're referencing a union, you have to ask yourself, do you want a union or you want a ceremony? Because you have to ask yourself that question. Both men and women. Men, ask yourself this question. First and foremost, if you decide, if this is what you want, and you say, okay, you're going to be a husband. First of all, you have to ask God. You have to ask Him, am I husband material? Is this what you want? Or if you're not sure, ask him to guide you, because he's going to send something or someone to teach you. That's up to you on whether you're going to accept that. The same thing with women. You have to ask yourself, most importantly, women, you have to ask yourself, am I wife material? Because a lot of you say, I want to be married. Why? First of all, ask yourself why. Why? Ask yourself that question. Because if you're saying why you want to get, you're not doing it the right. You're going about it the wrong way, and your intentions are flawed. No. Or some will say, well, if we get married, God will bless us more. Well, I mean, if you all are together now and you're being blessed, how does that change? So once again, you're still doing it for the wrong reasons. This is a conversation that you all should have had way back when, to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Most likely before children start to come, but it is what it is. This is not condemning anybody. This is not pointing fingers. This is just being truthful. This is what this is. It's being truthful. If and this is some of the things that we have to start thinking about. And when he mentioned, when Georgia mentioned the movie Claudia, and that's something people that a lot of people should watch that movie. I mean, if you got cable or you got cable or dish or whatever, or even if, we got all these other media platforms, pull that movie up. It's called Claudine, and it is a prime example of poor decision making. And this woman was looking for somebody to help bail her out, to help her bail her out because of her poor decision making. And not to mention that this man had his own problems to deal with, but he was supposed to put that to the side and help her. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't. It never has. Never has. Ever. Her lack of responsibility and accountability led to that situation. Everything we do has consequences. It's just on how severe the consequences are. At some point, if you're married, I'm happy for you. If you've been divorced and it is what it is. But I'm sure at some point or another, you're looking to remarry. If you're one of those individuals who've never been married, trust it, the time will come for you. But you have to this is the part where you have to ask yourself, am I ready? Or what do I need to do to get ready? As scripture says, the bride must prepare herself to be adorned and accepted by the groom. There's a lot of responsibilities, ladies, that come with what you're asking. Not doing that, not because you feel that I need to get right with God. You should be thinking about that long ago. What you do now is that you start straightening up your house now. So when that potential does show up, the transition will be a lot smoother, a lot easier. It's levels of responsibility, levels of accountability. See, and I was, I'm divorced. I was married, I was married at a time. And I got married at 23. Okay. And at 23, you really don't know a hell of a whole lot, but you in your mind, you're thinking, you're a mind, you could change the world you're an idealist and you could change the world. You could change a person. No, it doesn't happen that way. You are truly fooling yourself and you have become disillusioned. I had to learn that. And what I'm doing now is sharing these experiences with you, the wisdom with you that you have to understand. You have to look at particular things. Hey, if this is your desire, if this is your desire to be a husband, look at everything around you and start making the preparation. There's a text in the Bible that says, and this goes for anybody, cast not your pearls amongst swine, meaning that you could do everything. You could be doing the things that you think mean something to you and that person, but to them, but to do that, you're casting, meaning that you're casting beauty to an individual who has no appreciation for beauty. You're casting something of value in front of and giving it to someone who has no sense of value. You are taking currency and giving it to someone who has no sense of currency. But leaving you with that. But with that being said, I see the lights flashing in the distance and the helicopter is about to land, which means what, people? That's all the time we have here for Black Intellectual Radio here on a black. Listen to me. I'm mixing everything up. iHeart Intellectual Radio, Black Conservative Radio, but this is what happens when you get so deep into a topic and, you kind of get your words twisted and all that kind of carry on. But I hopefully, you take what I'm telling you to heart. Take that with you. Use it. Look for it. Apply it. And if you're going to apply it, pick up the good book. See, my book, I don't care what you say, I'm always read from the King James Version. Everything else is uncivilized. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But anyway, with that being said, shout out to my sponsor, Captain Hook, 85th and Cottage Grove, 103rd and King Drive, at 159th and Kedzie in Markham, Illinois. And in closing, not my monkey, not my circus. See y'all next week.
Let's go. Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.